who are coming in quickly. We're already running a little behind, so I may run a little bit over. Don't tell the people who are managing the rooms. So welcome to Internet of the Mind, educational content on YouTube. Woo! My name is Angela, and I work on the content partnerships team at YouTube. Distinct pleasure of working with our educational content creators, such as some of those seated up here, as well as many who are interspersed in the audience. I see a lot of familiar faces. So we have a really great panel and a lot to get through, and we don't have enough time. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I know lots of you are here because you're familiar with our panelists already, but for the benefit of those maybe two of you who may not be familiar with all of the channels, I would love if you guys could each give a really quick intro, tell us your name, what you do on YouTube, and how you got your start.
Okay, I'm Derek.
30 seconds.
Yep, my channel is Veritasium, and I just started making YouTube videos about science about 2.5 years ago. That's it.
Hi, I'm Emily Grass. Am I on?
It should just be. No,
I'm not.
Oh. Hello?
Hello?
Oh, hi. Hi, I'm Emily Grassley. I'm the host and writer for the channel The Brain Scoop, and formerly it's a show about natural history museums, specimen preparation, biology, and we just relocated to the Chicago Field Museum.
I'm John. Nope.
We know who you are, it's okay.
Maybe now?
You're on.
Oh,
Whoa!
can you hear me? Can you hear me in the back? I'm John Green. I make the educational video series that I make is called Crash Course. I make it with my brother. He teaches science. I teach the humanities, history, and literature so far. And we also do some educational content on the channel that we started 6.5 years ago called Vlog Brothers.
I am Destin. I have a YouTube channel called Smarter Every Day, and contrary to popular belief, it's not about how smart I am, it's about how dumb I am. And I'm trying to figure out how to get smarter, and so the videos are a process of me getting smarter. And so I started several years ago by making a video called How to Light a Bonfire with Rockets. And here we are.
I'm really excited to hear from you guys. I thought one of the first things we would delve into. Hi. Hello? No? Okay. I promise I won't talk a lot. I know you want to hear them. So judging by the packed room, as well as the 3 million plus subscribers you have across educational content, you guys all have very devoted followings. So I thought one of the first questions for all of the creators that are here in the room, I'd like to ask on their behalf is, what one piece of advice, or maybe two pieces of advice, do you have for somebody who wants to be an educational creator on YouTube? That's it?
Me? Okay. Just do it. Kind of my motto in life is, in a world of talkers, be a thinker and a doer. And so a lot of people just talk about, well, I'm really thinking about doing a chemistry channel. Just do it. You have to do a lot of bad videos before you ever make your first good one. And once you do, you'll say, oh, that worked. And more importantly, people got the information I was trying to give them. And then you have begun your journey. That's I don't know, check or hold, what do you think? Yeah? That's it.
Sorry. I'm really bad with mics. Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I also think that you have to get better. And that's not just true when you're starting out. It's true when you're already pretty good. If you're not always getting better, if you're not always working harder, if you're not always trying to listen to your audience and find better ways to share the material in a way that's going to matter to them, it's going to mean something to them, that's going to stick with them for a while, then you're not ever going to get where you want to be in terms of audience development. So that's the thing that I try to remind myself of, and because I am not very good at making internet videos, I had to find people who are good at like editing and animation and stuff. And so that's the other thing, is find good collaborators. There are a lot of talented people on YouTube, and a lot of them are willing and in fact excited to collaborate with you. So that's my other recommendation.
I totally second what Destin and John said. You have to start from somewhere, so just get started. It's okay, just go for it. Ask help. Ask for help when you need help. That was my biggest hurdle to get over. I'm so stubborn. I'm like, no, I don't know anything about biology, and if I can't learn it on my own, doing my own research, then it's not worth knowing. That's not the case at all. When you need assistance, asking for somebody to help out with a little bit of the research, or like what John said about getting your videos edited. It's okay. Like, there's a community out there who is more than willing to help you get it done, and so yeah.
I actually made a video about how I feel about making videos, and there's a great series by Ira Glass about what it takes to be a storyteller, and that I found quite inspirational. And he talks about this gap between what you're capable of making at a particular time and what you're capable of perceiving. So you can make something and then you can realize that it's not that good, and that causes a lot of people to quit very early on because what they're making isn't living up to their expectations. So it's a big problem. And it's only 2.5 years after I started that I looked back at the original videos and I realized how bad they are. And I'm thankful that I didn't have a very good sense of what was good and what wasn't good early on, because that saved me from just quitting in the very beginning. So, partly it's about, pressing on even if you feel like what you're making isn't living up to your expectations. The other thing I wanted to say was, just watching these guys gives me inspiration. For example, I never thought a vlog could be interesting until I started watching John Green. And now I vlog more.
Notice he did not mention my brother.
Wow. I didn't want you to point that out, but seriously, John does some incredible vlogs, and so that made me think, well, maybe I can say things that are also interesting, just saying them to camera. And so I've started doing that more recently, so thank you, John.
Maybe I should have asked this question before that, but to the folks of you, to those of you in the audience, raise your hand if you're a creator, and keep your hand raised if you're creating educational content. That's awesome.
Why is there not more of you? Good, go tonight, do it.
No, go to the concerts tonight.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow. After Disneyland.
Well, we've actually seen a huge rise in the amount of educational content on YouTube, especially in the last 2 years. I mean, Emily, your channel is less than 1 year old. What do you guys think is responsible for that growth and for the popularity of this kind of content?
Okay.
Anyone?
I think it's becoming cool to be smart. I think that's it. Several years ago when I started doing this, my dad said, why are you doing this? Isn't that weird? I was like, but I want to help people learn, and if I have a really neat, unique thought, I want somebody else to share that with me, and we can, learn together. And people, I don't know, you're sitting here, you know what I'm talking about. So it's just really cool to get better and progress as a human being, just kind of like what John was saying in terms of your editing style.
Yeah, I think for those of you who are here on VidCon Industry Day, there is like an astonishing amount of jargon that surrounds the business side of all of this stuff, because when people don't actually have a business model or a way of making money, they invent jargon to hide that fact. And I kind of hate the phrase social media, but learning is deeply social. Learning is something that we do together. Even if I'm learning from Shakespeare, I'm learning with Shakespeare. And it's social at its core. It's one of the core expressions, in fact, I think, of our humanness, because it is something you don't learn just from staring at the sky. You learn from talking with people. And research has shown in the last few decades how deeply social learning really is, and how the myth of the great man seeing the apple fall from the tree and realizing all at once, oh, gravity, is is just not accurate. What we know is that that summer Newton brought home from university many of the great books that allowed him to have that insight. He was learning socially just as we are today. And so I think the reason that it's so successful on YouTube is because it's a social platform. It's a platform where we can have a conversation, and it's also a place where we can have a conversation through multiple media. So I'm telling you about the Industrial Revolution, but I'm also showing you an animation about the Industrial Revolution, and at the same time there's stuff that you're reading on a screen about the Industrial Revolution. So it can engage different kinds of learners at the same time, different kinds of learning at the same time. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
I feel like we've got a secret weapon being EDU creators. Like, I sometimes feel bad for the creators out there who are just trying to entertain you. Because that's hard. Just to entertain someone is hard. Ideas that the human mind has ever come up with. And that's your material? That is amazing. That is astounding. And everyone will want to watch that, right? Like, I can tell you about a quantum computer, and you know, that is something that you can walk away with. It's not just something that you're going to laugh at or will entertain you for a couple minutes. It's something that may change your outlook on the world forever. And I think that's awesome. So I'm really happy to have that secret weapon.
I think we've also, all of a sudden, kind of been inspired that we've come to this realization that YouTube is a great tool for educators, and before it was previously used to, you know, convey cat videos. And as much as I like cat videos,
there's nothing wrong with cat videos.
There's nothing. Cat videos all day. I'm just saying, you know, it takes only one or two people to be like, hey, you know, I mean, if this cat video can get this many views, look at all the eyeballs watching this, and why don't we use our powers for good? And so I think that idea kind of caught on, and it started trending. That's another term that I hate, but jargon. So I think we've gotten smarter about using the tools that we have at our disposal, and YouTube is like the best thing to do for educators.
There's nothing wrong with cat videos if Dustin's using them to teach Bernoulli's principle, right?
That's right.
I haven't done that one yet, but I will.
Destin can use cats to teach anything.
Challenge accepted, Dustin. Well, so part of what I get to do at YouTube is not only work with our content creators, but I also hear from a lot of educators and students that are using YouTube daily for learning. And so I want to ask kind of a meta question of what role do you think YouTube should be playing in educating students around the world? Outside of the great work that you guys are doing, maybe you can inspire more of these creators to start creating educational content. But what role do you think we should be playing, if at all?
Should we answer that honestly?
No, you should lie.
No, lie. Yes, please. Yes.
I think YouTube should have human beings curate educational content. I don't think an algorithm can do it well enough.
A safe place on the site where schools can go, and you know, schools can allow just that portion of the site so that they can get access to all of this, you know, well curated content.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen. I also think, I think that's going to happen. I might be wrong, but I think it will. I would love to see, I mean, Crash Course exists solely because YouTube decided to invest in it. They gave us the startup capital to make the show. It's something we could never have afforded to make ourselves. And now it's going to be sustainable, and we're going to be able to hopefully make it, you know, for decades. But we could never have made it. And, you know, and Emily, frankly, probably would never have made the Brain Scoop without getting startup capital from Hank. And Derek and Destin are just really talented. And you don't have that many really talented people. You need a lot. There's a lot of people out there who need they need help. They need the boost. They need the opportunity. YouTube has done a really good job in a lot of ways. I think an underappreciated job in trying to give people that boost through you know, free marketing, through better equipment. But you know, these are big, time-intensive projects. I mean,
yes.
It's not like it's not. You know, you have to work with educators or else be incredibly smart. You have to work with people who are in curricula. You have to, I mean, if you watch one of Destin's videos, like, I couldn't make a Destin video if you gave me literally and actually 1,000 years. So, I think for a lot of people, that's one of the barriers to entry, is that it takes a team to do it well and do it right, and it's really, really hard to find a financial model that can allow for such a team.
I feel that really too, because starting the Brain Scoop out of the University of Montana, they wouldn't even hire me as an employee at the university. So I was doing this all on a volunteer basis, living off of ad revenue from YouTube, which is not easy or fun to do. So until the Field Museum kind of picked up our channel and was willing to put their stamp as like a big cultural and educational institution, like a national brand, they're like, yes, we endorse this and we see the validity in using online video as a great vehicle for educational content. I think we need to have more of those big think tanks involved in this kind of thing, because it's not unreasonable.
You're right, it may be institutional support. I may be relying too much on YouTube, and maybe we should rely more on institutional support.
Yeah, I think Brady's got that figured out. Brady Heron in the UK, million channels, awesome videos. Yeah, the University of Nottingham and some of the other universities over there they're a little more forward thinking, and they said, hey, let's pay a person to talk about the MRI research we're doing in a way that's easily digestible by a 14-year-old young man at his home in Ohio, and maybe that'll inspire him. And they're doing that, and I've watched how Brady does his work, and it's awesome. I mean, you have one guy, and he's the node that distributes all the information that this huge educational institution is outputting, and it's amazing. He does a really good job on it. And you've done a lot of that in Sydney as well, right?
I've done a little bit at universities. Just makes me think of John's comment about having 1,000 years to make a Destin video. They do take a long time sometimes, and in fact, Destin and I have a video project that's been in the works for 2 years. 2 years. 2 years. But we are a couple months away from making it a reality. So you got to put in the time, and then it pays off.
Was that a shot at me? Or?
Hey, it is a little bit of a shot because I've done my part. Okay, so if everyone can get on Destin and tell him to do the other half, this video is going to be amazing.
I have no defense. You were completely 100% right. And I apologize.
But if you had more resources, you'd
That's
probably
right.
be able to get it done.
So on the topic of resources, why don't we talk a little bit about Subbable and the other types of models that are out there outside of advertising for content and educational content specifically?
Yeah, so Subbable is a voluntary subscription platform, and certainly not the only one. There's other good, interesting ones like Patreon. Subbable was sort of designed for educational video, though. Basically, it's built on the NPR model, the idea that people will pay for something that they can just as easily get for free if they understand its value. We're reaching the end of our grant from Google, and to make the show sustainable, it was never going to be sustainable from advertising revenue. We get 4 million people a month watching Crash Course, and it's not even 20% of the budget of the show covered by advertising. And also, we'd like to be free from advertising so that it will be easier to adopt into schools and stuff. So for the last 6 months, my brother and I, along with a team of a designer and a person who makes things happen inside of computers. I don't know what that person's called, a programmer. Have been building this platform, Subbable, that's basically a voluntary subscription service. You can subscribe for $0. You can subscribe for $10 a month, $2 a month, whatever you want. If you subscribe to $10 a month, each month, those $10 go into your perk bank. And then after 3 months, if you want, you can redeem a $30 perk, which in the case of Crash Course is a signed Crash Course poster. Or if you wait longer, you can get other perks. There's also one-time payment options. And it's designed to be a very flexible, voluntary subscription service, basically, but one that doesn't create tiers within the viewership community of those who pay and those who don't, because we think that's very problematic on YouTube and generally in human life. And we launched, in 1 week, Crash Course had 300% of its monthly revenue from, 3 times more of our ad revenue per month we were getting in subscription revenue. And we'd also had a lot of one-time donations, and it was clear that this show was going to be sustainable. Unfortunately, Amazon then shut down the payment system after a week because it was so successful that they got scared. But we're going to fix it. And CGP Grey, another amazing...
Go watch that video that he made.
Yeah, CGP Grey's video about Salvable is just a much more succinct and funny version of what I'm trying to say. He launched his Salvable campaign and only had about 23 hours before Amazon shut down the system and raised 175% of his monthly funding goal. So clearly there is a huge well of support out there among the viewers of these channels who feel that they are very valuable, and advertising is never going to value that correctly, because an advertiser is never going to care about whether you learned how mitochondria...
Say something biology.
Replicate? So we're hoping that there will be not just Subbable, but other models like Subbable that allow for voluntary subscription, so that the people who learned how mitochondria replicate, is that what it is?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. So that the people who've learned that can say, like, I want this to still exist, and not just for me, but for those who can't afford it.
So outside of this, outside of advertising, outside of the NPR model, and you mentioned institutional support, what are some other creative ways that you guys have been able to fund your content and Dustin John?
I traded a goat for a video one time.
I don't know that story, Dustin. Why don't you tell it?
Next.
That's not fair. You can't not tell it.
Oh, I've got a buddy that in Alabama, he has created a 3-dimensional laser tracker that you can put on the back of the car. And you can drive, and you can get a 3D spatial distribution model with imagery and color of wherever you are. Think Google Earth, but 3D. And so he made this in his garage next to his tractor. And he's really smart. And so, I was like, Daniel, you got fainting goats, right? It's like, my dad really needs a fainting goat. And so, anyway, it's just a good old boy thing. He's a good guy. I do other things, so do not mail me a goat.
Emily, were you going to say something?
Wait, I still don't understand the story. So
I made a video for him on like a secondary channel, and he like used it for clients.
And he gave you a goat.
A fainting goat.
That wins.
Yeah. Okay.
Eric's like, I sell t-shirts.
They're available now at the FTVA stores, so yeah, go get one.
Emily, were you going to say something?
Before the Field Museum started licensing our content, I had ideas to sell personal artwork. That was going to be my way. Maybe make a cooking blog, and those are like,
But you guys did have, you reached a point where you needed help from your viewers, and even though the show had relatively, I mean, not relatively, I don't want to, it had 40,000 views per episode, which is very good, unless you were trying to be funded by ads, in which case it is like, you mean nothing. And
we pay. Yeah.
You just asked, you just set up a PayPal page, right, didn't you?
Yeah, it was similar. It's through WePay, and this was something that it was kind of a precursor to Subbable. It was an experiment that Hank wanted to do. He's like, well, we'll have a link to something if people want to support the show, that they can just pay it through WePay, and we got a lot of money, and it was like not an excessive amount of money, but I was I think in the first couple days we probably got $13,000.
So you have 40,000 viewers and you got $13,000.
That's good.
You know how many of those viewers would have to watch a video for you to get $13,000 in ad revenue?
No.
$1 million?
Really?
$2 billion?
I have no idea.
I teach history.
The answer, John, I can take this one. The answer is $5 million. It's over $5 million.
Really?
Yeah, for the ad revenue. We're talking about probably 7 million.
My channel still doesn't have more than 3 million video views. So thanks to everybody who helped us support us for WePay. You paid my energy bill for a couple months.
Do you guys, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Do you guys feel weird when we ask for money to do contents? Because I've recently done a couple of ads, and I say, I feel like I have to apologize. I don't know why, but it's like, I want to keep doing something for you for free. I'm sorry, but just think about clicking this link over here. I don't know.
Well, that's the audible.com thing. I mean, I know Henry, Minute
I just
Physics.
started doing that.
Yeah, it has audible.com endorsements in his videos because he doesn't get paid enough with ad revenue. And there was a video where they didn't get the message out of the video they thought they would, and they took it personally, which they shouldn't have.
Right.
And they were very upset because they felt as if the video was created just for the audible.com endorsement, which it wasn't.
Yeah, he wanted to eat.
Yeah, he wanted to eat and,
Yeah.
pay for gas.
What makes this whole thing so complicated is that I believe, I know all of these people. I know Henry, I know CGP Grey, I know Vihart. None of these people got into the educational video business intending to buy a yacht. And that's not anyone's end game here. If channels grow, the money is reinvested into the channels. Destin buys a gajillion-dollar camera or whatever if he can. That's the first thing you would do.
It is.
Yeah. So so it's really difficult because you're always afraid that people are going to react negatively, and but my belief is that if you are transparent and you are honest, they will trust you because I know that I'm not lying, right? And I don't want to just say like I know that I'm not lying. I also want there to be a way, and this is hopefully that something subbable or some version of it will be able to do eventually, to say like, look, I'll just tell you where the money goes. Like I'll just show you. And in fact, when we first launched the Crash Course Subbable, and I explained that an episode of Crash Course costs more than $5,000 to make, people were like, what? That's a gajillion, that's the most money ever. And when I broke it down, the conversation immediately changed to, how do you do that so cheaply? And I think when you're honest with people about what things cost, they are actually surprised by the fact that you can make a minute of video for less than $500, which on TV they can't make one for less than $50,000.
Yeah,
Which is why advertisers are dictating the kind of educational content on broadcast television.
Exactly.
Because people don't want to make, Animal Planet has the Mermaid Show, a show about mermaids. Like, are you serious?
Well,
and
are
because
there mermaids?
Are there though?
To be fair, there are also cable channels that are still making really good educational content. Like the History Channel has Pawn Stars.
Yeah.
I think it has Small People.
Yeah. So I definitely go there for my educational content.
Yeah,
But if you're wondering, we all know this. We all know that's why we're on YouTube for our educational content, because we're not dictated by the material we put out there because of advertisers. We don't want to be.
So, okay, probably shouldn't say this. I've been approached by a lot of people wanting to make TV shows. And when I go to these people, like, I fly to their city, I sit down in their room, and I say, tell me about your, say, I don't know, some TV jargon. And I say, look, here's the deal. I've got a camera, I've got my mind, and I have the ability to read papers. And I'm going to make awesome content if you would get out of the way and let me do it. And I promise you that I can connect with people because they are curious just like I am. And it is frightening. It is frightening to these people because they deal in like thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I'm down here trading goats for videos. And I'm just like, believe me, and we can do this. And if I'm a real person, it'll work. And so I'm still having some discussions with some people about this sort of thing, and it's kind of scary on both ends, right? Because you're like, do I sign this piece of paper and trust that they're going to listen to me? And they're on the other side saying, do we let that guy do this and, be crazy and our audience doesn't like it? So it's a very strange situation to be in. But I think I think we have the ability, people sitting at this table, the CGP Grays, the Brady Herons, the Henry Byhart, everybody, I think this type of movement has the ability to change the way educational video in general, not just YouTube, happens. And I think people are realizing that I don't need to see a guy shoot an alligator and blah, 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 and swamp people and all the drama. You know, I can go with Emily and just learn about it, you know, and let's go pull a tooth from an alligator and help him or something like that. I mean, I think we can change the way TV, educational TV happens.
Dead alligator in Emily's case.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know. I think that's a possibility, but I really like freedom on YouTube, and I love it so much. Yeah.
Derek, am I cutting you off?
No.
One thing, the only other thing that I wanted to say is that we are also, I mean, it's rare on YouTube that there's a lot of good energy at YouTube for actual educational content, and that begins with Angela, but I think it doesn't end there. But you know, Angela doesn't want EDU content that that looks like swamp people or looks like Pawn Stars.
How do you know that?
He gets the views, you know?
Because I've seen the way that you've developed the EDU presence on YouTube, and I think that is also key. So I think that we have the power, but we also have the right institutional partner. And if you're out there and you want to make this stuff, and you can make it in a way that enough people will watch it, you know, not tens of millions, but tens of thousands, there will be a way.
Yes.
Well said. Okay. So, switching gears a little bit, I know we're here to talk about creation of video, but I also want to talk a bit about what happens after someone watches your video. So how do you think about connecting, you know, one of the things I love about your videos is that it really connects the conceptual, the theoretical, with real life. How do you think about influencing your audiences or enabling them, empowering them to go do things after they watch your videos and connecting and continuing to make that connection, you know, get out from behind the tablet or behind the computer and go and do cool things in the world?
Well, I've done a couple of videos where I've actually asked for video responses, and sometimes those have gone really well. I don't know if you guys have seen the spinning tube trick. Have you guys seen it? Hands up if you've seen it. There's a lot of people here who haven't seen the spinning tube trick. That's exciting. I might have a spinning tube in my bag. Come see me for it afterwards. Otherwise, just go online and look at the spinning tube trick and see if you can figure it out for yourselves. So I think giving challenges works surprisingly well. And I've got another challenge coming probably next week. So.
I think another thing that's important, the way I understood the question is, how do we influence our audience to do things with the information they have? Like Derek says, immediately figure it out, tangibly. Another thing that I've noticed is people's life choices, like what education field they get into. That's the most often thing that I hear. It's like, I'm going to be a physics major. I'm going to be an engineer. And I know you did a video not long ago, Derek, where you directly answered a guy on your second channel.
Well, this guy said to me, like, I went against my parents' wishes. They want me to be a sturgeon, but because of your videos, I'm gonna
Sturgeon?
You know what?
I want to be a surgeon.
Emily hears what she wants to hear, okay? Everything's an animal. He was Swedish, and he said... I'm not actually kidding. He was a Swedish high school student, and he said, my parents always wanted me to be a surgeon. But without telling them, I have applied to do engineering physics because of your awesome videos. And I told them, and they're really disappointed in me. And so that's hard for me. That's hard. This guy's going against what his parents want because he's seen some of my YouTube videos. God, I hope that's not the only reason. So I made a video responding to him and actually telling him that when I graduated high school, I had the same kind of dilemma because I wanted to be a filmmaker, but I also loved science. And obviously my parents wanted me to be more in the science side because that's a more stable career. So that's what I did. And I actually fought my parents, but then in the end just went along with what they wanted. So there you go.
Personally, I'm kind of surprised by how many young women especially come to me and they thought, well, you know, I was never going to go into the sciences because I didn't think girls who were scientists were cool or fun or attractive or necessary.
I met my wife in physics physics, by the way. I just want to say
beautiful.
that.
It's beautiful.
Very beautiful.
So I'm always a little shocked. Like, I'm very happy to hear that, but I'm always a little shocked. Like, really, ladies? Like, we need to have these kind of role models to get the women into sciences. That, and also, I graduated with an art degree. I never even took college biology. So I get kind of both sides of the spectrum. I get those women coming to me saying, like, thank you for helping to motivate me to pursue biology, because it's always what I really love to do, and now I feel confident in being able to do that, that warms my heart more than anything. But I also get people who are like, you know, I'm an art major, and I really like science too, and after watching your channel, I feel like it is possible to do both. So both of those things are, it's awesome.
Yeah, we need to I want to get better at that at Crash Course, getting better at finding ways that the video is the beginning of the experience, not the end of it, you know, that it inspires sort of an ongoing commitment and connection.
I know that we got a little bit of a late start, so I'm done asking my questions. I would love to open up to you guys, because I know you're probably burning with questions right there. Yep.
I have a question about the difference between factual education on YouTube and skill-based education, and how you can teach someone to be, for example, a writer or a math teacher as opposed to just teaching them about history.
I think it's about empowering people. I think you can't teach somebody how to be a good writer. You can teach them that it's okay to make mistakes.
And you can teach them, I mean, you can teach them some things about writing without teaching them how to be a writer, or you can teach people some ways into looking at history without them, becoming a historian, or from YouTube. In fact, every time I have to tie a bow tie, I learn again. How to tie a bow tie. And that's very important to me. But those bigger, how am I going to actually work in the field of engineering? My opinion, at least, is that education isn't and shouldn't be entirely on YouTube. That these videos that we're making are a way into discussion, a way into study, a way into understanding nuance and complexity, not just the end of the game.
I was going to say as well, like when it comes to science, you kind of model the process of science. I know Destin does it, and obviously Emily's actually doing it. I do experiments sometimes, and I show the things that go wrong, and that's part of science, and I think that's part of the learning experience.
There's a question right here.
I am a homeschool child, and I started learning about history and science and such from just reading some books that we got from the library. But once I found all of you guys, I decided I learned more about history and science and biology and a lot of things. So I think it's really cool that people make history videos on YouTube, and you all are my favorite teachers.
Wow.
She does say balls a lot more than
I'm really sorry about that.
Thank you for that lovely comment.
Thank you so much.
Wow, that was like a verbal hug if I've ever
Oh, yeah. What's your name, sir?
My name is
Preston.
Presley.
Nice to meet you, Presley.
And I am actually a female.
Oh, I apologize. Sorry, Presley.
Any other? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, Presley, my children are also homeschooled to an extent. We do half homeschool, and we go to another, it's called a classical school. And so I found that when I spend time with my dad, or when my kids spend time with me, we both learn a lot. I actually learned from my dad as well. But I have learned that it's very, very good to go learn at home and then go back to school, or when you're homeschooling, and just do the same thing with your hands that you're doing with your mind. Have you found that? Yes. And thank you for your comment.
Yeah, you made me cry. I've had an emotional day, but still.
There's a question in the back. Yes, you.
I think when most people hear educational videos, they often think they're really boring. So how do you make videos more interesting and exciting for you?
I tell people that I cut up animals. I get when I tell people that I do educational content, this lady cutting my hair once, she's like, oh, so it's like Sesame Street.
But better, and the animals are dead.
Yeah, I said
There's a question back there. Oh, sorry, did I cut you off? Emily? No. Right there.
I would like to know, where do you think the sort of classroom model of learning, what do you think it can take from the success of educational content online, and where do you see it going?
Well, let me just repeat the question real quick. So where do you see, how can classroom learning learn from the success of your channels, and where do you see that going? Go ahead.
So I think there's some interesting ideas going around. I mean, one of them that CGP Grey talks about is like actually just being taught by a computer in the future. You guys seen his video?
Digital Aristotle.
Digital Aristotle. You will just be working with a machine. I think that that's not going to happen, ever. I think that, as John was saying, learning is such a social thing. So I'm really glad that our videos can be there to be played in the classroom and discussed, paused, sort of worked through, and also could be assigned for homework. But I think there's, this is such an important to have that face-to-face, human-to-human contact. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I mean, let's look, since I love her so much, let's look at Presley. So, the learning, I'm very grateful that you consider me your teacher, and that fills my heart with joy. But a lot of the learning doesn't just happen while you're watching the video. It also happens when you talk about the video after you watch the video. And then you go deeper, you go to books, you go to Wikipedia, you go to other videos, you go all over the place to get more context and understand things even better, and that's when it gets really exciting. And to me, I have no desire to replace that learning experience, because it's impossible. What I have a desire to do is make that first 8, 10, 12 minutes, whether it's, whether you're learning at home or you're learning at school, make that first 12 minutes exciting and invigorating and make you want to go further and go deeper. And so my hope is that when Crash Course is integrated into curricula, as we've been very fortunate to see it happen many, many times, it's so that it's not to replace a teacher. Quite the opposite, It's to empower that teacher and to allow that teacher then to say, like, okay, well, that was interesting. He was wrong about some things. He was right about some things. Let's go. Like now let's go. Now let's get into it.
We're going to try to speed through a bunch of questions. So, young lady in the blue right there.
I was wondering if you think that the success of educational content on YouTube has something to do with the educational system?
Do you think the success of the educational content on YouTube has something to do with the system, the education system?
I was going to say no, because it seems to do well all over the world, so I don't think it's about a system.
I feel motivated to make educational content because my public education was so poor, and I would like to think that if I had been in high school, I would have loved Crash Course. So
I had a great public education.
I did too. Miss Wallace, 6th grade algebra, if you're listening, you are a great teacher. Thank you.
Okay, all the way there in the back. Yes, you.
I am really interested in making an educational channel on the history of religion, strictly from an academic standpoint, but I'm worried about the backlash from people who don't want their faith examined.
Backlash is good.
Backlash
That's
gets
not a
people
joke.
talking.
One of our most viewed world history videos is the one that I made about, Stan's here. Stan's like, what did you do? Stan's like 70 hours of my life, 30 minutes of yours. The world history video that Stan made. About the emergence of Islam on the Arabian Peninsula and why it happened and why it happened there and why it happened when it did. And that video has sparked a lot of discussion, and a lot of it is, of course, the very, very low quality discourse, but also a lot of really high quality conversation. So I do think it's possible.
Anything from the people? Yeah, you.
Yeah, what do you find is beneficial about this platform that you can't get in other educational platforms? And if you could add anything to make this platform even more exciting for educational video, what would it be?
Smell-o-vision.
What, so... Did you all hear the question in the back? No. What do you think is great about this platform as an educational platform, YouTube specifically, and what would you add to make it even better?
Well, a lot of schools don't have access to, a lot of schools you can't do dissections anymore, so from my channel personally, I know that I like to have these kind of things for the schools that don't or no longer have the resources. That being said, I would like for people to still be able to do the things that I can do on my videos.
I was thinking about this the other day, and it's the difference between what we do in a book, right, is rapid distribution to millions of people. Because ideas were handed throughout Europe, you know, a long time ago, throughout books, and people had really great ideas and thoughts because of those books, but it took a guy to handwrite it out. And that's the difference. So obviously that's the good thing about it. And what would you do better about it besides smell-o-vision? Derek?
It'd be nice to have some kind of, I don't know, quiz feature or some kind of additional assignment or interaction feature.
Ted's working on that.
Yeah. There's a number
It would be great if it were integrated into YouTube. Also, if there was a payment support system integrated into YouTube, like salvage. If we make enough money from Sellable to do anything, that's the first thing that we'll do. We'll hire someone to build. We really, really like this idea. We hire someone to build workbooks and quizzes and all of the bunch of curriculum connections, and then instead of selling it for a totally unreasonable price that is completely disconnected from the reality of the marketplace, we put it up as a PDF and allow any educational institution to work.
Ideas have been disruptive.
I personally just want to say, like, I think the whole reason why we're here is that we don't think that education should be exclusive. I think that everyone has a right to be educated, and we want to do it as efficiently and as cost effective as possible. And cost effectiveness in this is that we want to be able to distribute it for free.
And Tim, I would love to chat with you afterwards to hear how you're using it in the classroom. Yes, right here.
I wanted to know if you could comment quickly on the difference between creating educational content for STEM disciplines versus for the humanities.
The difference between creating educational content for STEM disciplines, science, technology, engineering, math,
I'll
versus
answer for the humanities since I'm the only...
Science is awesome.
For the humanities answer is that, like, it's way, way, way easier because, you know, it's narrative.
and a lot of awesome things happened, and there were battles, and yeah.
But you have to hire an animator.
I like STEM education. I'm all about science, technology, engineering, and math. I think it should be changed to STEAM. Like, throw the A in there. Let's get art in there. Why are these things exclusive? But that's kind of my shtick.
I think the difference between STEM and the humanities is you have to pay more for things like fire extinguishers when you're making videos.
Your startup costs are higher.
I would say, though, just from my perspective and seeing a lot of these various channels, if you are thinking about doing something, STEM is very incredibly important, but if you are thinking about starting a channel outside of that, please do. There's a lack of it on YouTube. Yeah, right there with the flowers.
Hi, so I just graduated high school, and I could have never gotten through calculus without watching just all of the YouTube videos and all the topics, and I was wondering, because I know a lot of math teachers are flipping the classroom, where they make students go home and watch the lectures on YouTube and then do homework during class to kind of help them with it. I was wondering what your thoughts were on that, and also if you think, this is kind of going off the education system, if you think like it should be, the teacher should have more of a kind of participation in the actual lecture part and how it reflects the actual education system.
What's the gentleman's name that has the math channel? Patrick
JMT.
He's amazing. He's amazing. But sometimes before I do a video and I'm like, how do I do normalization of a vector? I'll say, and so it's amazing. And so a lot of times with math, you have to have somebody hold your pencil with you and help you figure out how to do the limit of a function. And that's what YouTube's amazing with, right? And so I forgot your question, but I like it too.
What do you think about flipping the classroom and having assigning videos for homework and assigning lectures as videos?
Yeah, that's great. Especially with things like tablet PCs and stuff like that the younger generation's using. I mean, it's a great idea. It's a great idea. I have seen it done in a bad way, where you have to work the algebra equation and you get the solution, and if you don't type it in just right, then you miss it. And so they've really, it's horrible. Yeah, I'm hearing the groans. And so there's a better way to do that. There's some optical character recognition technologies where you can just draw the formula and it'll tell you if you get the right answer or not. So that's coming, but I think the programmers are working on it.
Right here.
I have a question about when you're specifically, and this is only applicable to certain disciplines, but when you're talking about different kinds of subjects that it's not necessarily controversial, but you have different sides, and you personally, and I don't know a whole lot of your videos except Emily's and John's, but you guys specifically have specific views about that particular subject. How do you not just censor, but how do you deal with wanting to encourage that critical thinking in your viewers when you have a particular perspective and you want to, promote that, but also encourage the critical thinking around it?
So how do you encourage critical thinking when you're covering controversial topics that you might have your own point of view on?
You ask them to answer it for themselves. I'm trying not to put any words in people's mouth. I mean, I had a vlog that I made about dissection, and I think I'm for dissection. I didn't say I'm for the farming of animals just to be killed, to be cut up in classrooms. I didn't say that. That's not what I support. But you ask them. You ask, like, what do you guys think about dissection? What do you think about this? And if I think some people are surprised when you ask a question, you will get an honest answer. People want to contribute to that. Does that help?
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me is that I'm a white, heterosexual, cisgendered male, and it's been a pretty good run for us. And that, those privileges are going to shape, they shape the way that we tell history generally. But they particularly, now that we're teaching American history, they particularly shape the way that we tell American history, because we have so many voices of power, but also just, you know, the voices that had access to the written record, that had access to the historical record, tend to be those voices that have been privileged. And here I am in many of those same privileged positions trying to tell that story. So the first thing that I have to do is acknowledge that, you know, and insofar as possible, try to remember it, but to acknowledge that, like, you know, the story that I'm going to tell is not the only important story, it's not the only relevant story, this is not the only way to access history, but also to try to take, insofar as possible, those voices that have been neglected and oppressed in the past, and say these aren't tangential, these aren't sort of side notes in American history, these are in fact the essential American stories.
One more question here.
I was wondering how you, I mean, you have very diverse audiences. How do you help those who already have a deep understanding of science and the humanities and that kind of stuff, while also helping to introduce people who don't know stuff?
I have a technique. I start the video at a very simple level. I introduce a question, and then I slowly begin to ramp up. And so I'll start with a simple thing that I would explain to my daughter, and then I slowly ramp up, and then right at the end, I'll peak, and I'll hit on the facts that the PhD doesn't know, and then I'll quickly ramp back down so I don't scare people away from the video, and then I'll kind of smooth it out at the end.
I love Justin's graphs. What's that? I love your graphs. Yeah. You should ask him for his graph with a number line sometimes. It's not what you expect. But I was going to say, I feel like I need a second channel, or a third channel, or a fourth, because I've taken my first channel in a direction of, you know, people who know science, because there's a lot of them out there, and I wanted to, you know, reach those people. But I also want to reach people who know less about science, so I'd like to go back to the basics, because I feel like 95% of the population isn't very good about the basics. So I'd like to do that.
So raise your hand again if you are an educational content creator, and keep your hand raised if you have a question.
How do you balance education and entertainment in your videos? Because there are times where you've got to get a fact out or whatever, but, you know, we're on YouTube, so somebody can click away. So you throw a joke or some kind of entertainment. Like, how do you feel about that balance, and how is it affecting you as a content creator?
How do you balance entertainment and educational value of your content?
You can let people discover the answer for themselves instead of just handing it to them. That's entertaining to me, because I'm trying to figure out things all the time. So that's the way I handle it.
I think humor is really important, which is tough for me because I'm not very funny. But, yeah.
That's a good one.
No, but I mean, did you see that? Did you see that? That was half-hearted. Come on.
Okay, thank you for your question. We started late, as I promised. I ended late. I'm so sorry. I knew there were only 5 minutes left. So I would love to close out the panel just by asking you guys, is there anything you haven't said yet that you would love to share with this audience? Closing thoughts. It's all been said.
Thank you for showing up today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for watching our stuff, and through watching it and talking about it, helping us to make it better. But I also want to encourage you, those of you who are interested in creating content, to join that side of the community as well. The great thing about YouTube is that there is no bright line between those who make content and those who watch it. So don't be afraid to live in that in-between space like we all do.
Yeah. Constructive criticism is very helpful. Very helpful. Not just, that was awful, just very constructive criticism that helps us get better, like they were saying earlier.
Yeah, just to second these guys, thanks to everybody who's, you know, watched us to help. I feel like we're all fighting the good fight, and to keep these lines of open dialogue going, you know, I really want to hear what you have to say and what you have to think about this topic, because I feel passionately about it, as you all do too. So thanks for being here, and let's keep the conversation going.
Yeah, Emily makes a great point, and all of these guys have said thank you to you, and our community is, of course, what we do it for, but for me, one of the big things is my other creators. So these guys on the panel, and the other guys who can't join us today, you know, everyone out there making educational content, it all inspires me, and so really, thank you. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys so much.